Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria Essien, your favorite fashion design tutor. So today we will be making a Kada skirt, and this is the fabric I want to use. What you'll be needing for this tutorial is just the zip and the fabric you'll be using. Then you use your tape and scissors. So to make gather skirts, the fullness of your gathers depend on how full you want it to be. So to get a gathers, you measure your hip, get your hips measurement, and then you multiply your hips measurement either by 2 or by 3, depending on how full you want it to be. You don't use your waist measurement. Reason why I will not advise you to use the waist measurement to multiply the waist measurements for your gathers is because some people are hipsy, like they have this coffee hips and they have a very tiny waist. So if you use the waist measurement, maybe you multiply it by 2 or by 3. At the end of the day, once they wear it, their hips will carry the clothes and the gathers will not come out very well. So it's advisable you use your hips measurements whenever you are making gathers. That way you still have your full gathers when you wear. As I said before, the fullness of the gathers depend on how full you want it to be and the styles you are making it for, your style. So if you want just a scanty gathers, you can use 1.5 of your hips measurements. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Let's say for example, your hips measurement is 40 and you want your gathers to be scanty, like the one you are seeing on the screen now. Going to add half of that measurement to your hips measurement. That's your hips is 40, you just add 20 to it, and it will give you this exact gathers. Then if you want it not too much, just moderate, you can go for times 2 of your hips measurements. But if you want it much fuller, then times 3 is the perfect measurement to get a fuller leaf. Normal gathers, you can make it times 4. You want it really much, but times 3 is okay, and I'm using times 3 for my own. So I already cut out this fabric you are seeing here. I use my hips measurement, which is 40, multiply it by 3, and that gives me 120. So I cut out this fabric 120 in width, and the length of this fabric is the length of the skirt, of how long I want my skirt to be. So you just measure how long you want your skirt to be minus band. So my one here is 23. My skirt length is 23, and I'll add band 2 inches, and I also added 2 inches for folding because I'm supposed to cut out 21, so that after adding band I will still get 23. But because I will fold the hem, so I cut out 23. So 2 inches is for folding. I already cut out my band. My band is going to be 2 inches wide, and then the length is my waist measurement plus 2 inches. That will be for stitching and for button. So the band is going to have a button where I'm putting the zip. I'm going to put the zip also. So this skirt now is just, if you have enough fabric and it's going to go, you can get exact measurement you want, you can go ahead and cut it one long one, and it's going to have just one joining. But if you are using, maybe you don't have much fabric and you want to like join it, you can go ahead and join it. Like mine, I join it because this fabric wasn't as long as the width I wanted for my gathers, so I join it. In the joining, you can see where I join it. So you can go ahead and join it, but if you have enough fabric that can go as long as you want, you don't need to join it. Just one cutting is fine. So now I'm going to take this to my machine to run a gather. So on how to run a gather, so you're going to open up your fabric after cutting it, like to get a very beautiful gathers for for whatever, for your skirts, for your gown, whatever you are using the gathers for. You just take your fabric to your machine, and then you run two loose stitch on the top of the fabric, where you have the waistline, that's where you are running the stitch. And the first stitch will be like half inch away from the hem, from the waistline. Let me use the word waistline. So the first stitch will be half inch away from the waistline, and the second stitch should be 0.25 inch, just a little, just keep a little space that's less than half inch between the two stitches. So I'm going to take this to my machine and run the two stitch and bring it back, then I show you how I'm going to create my gathers. So I'm done stitching. You can see my two lines, the first one, then the second one, that are just close to each other. Just give it a little space, like 0.25 inch. And you can see my rope. When I say loose stitch, what I mean by loose stitch is that when you start sewing, you just sew straight. You don't back stitch, you don't tighten the stitch. You use the widest stitch, like the biggest stitch in your machine. Like if your machine have all those numbers, one, from 0, 1, 2, 3, just check for the one that will give you the biggest size of stitch. Because some machine I might say use 0 now, and some machine they is 5 that is the biggest. So I cannot really tell you the exact number to set your machine to. But just check for the one that will give you the big stitch when you are stitching. And also, before you start stitching, make sure that you have enough thread on your reeler. You can use a new reeler, reel it, make sure that it's a full thread on it, so that you not stop your stitching halfway. Maybe you just get to the middle and then your thread finish. If your thread finish without getting to the end, you're going to start all over again. So you make sure you check that you have enough thread on your reeler, and then you stitch without back stitching. Then when you finish, you just stitch two lines the way I did. Then you have something like this. So to get the gathers done without in a very simple way, is just to check the thread, the end of this stitch, the two threads that are coming out is 4 altogether, back and front for the two lines. And then check for the lower thread, the thread that pass through, like the down thread. When you are stitching the down thread of your machine, so if you are stitching on the right side, you know that the down thread will be on the wrong side. If you are stitching on the wrong side, with the wrong side up, you know that the down thread will be on the right side of the fabric. So just hold on the down thread, the two down thread that you have from the two lines, and then you are just going to hold it. You are not going to draw the thread. So you are just going to hold it. You are not going, just hold it, and then you are not going to drag the thread. What you are dragging is the fabric. So when you hold it, you just draw the fabric. You can see, just draw the fabric. You continue going like that. When it's much, like it gathered much like this, you come down to this other side that is plain and drag it down, and then you continue that way till you get to the till when you are doing it, you'll be checking the length you have remaining. Like when you have might have done it much, you might have gathered it plenty, you check what you have, and whatever you are going to have must be your exact waistline, maybe with 1 inch for stitching. So I'm just going to continue dragging my own till I get the size that I want, my waist size. And so you might be wondering why I said you should hold on the down thread. The reason is that if you check the way your sewing machine works, the upper thread is the one going in and out, in and out. The down thread is just lying straight. So it's just there. But the upper thread now is just going up, down. If you want to hold the upper thread, you may have a little difficulty gathering your fabric. But the down thread that is straight will just gather it faster without stressing you much. But if you find the upper thread simple, anyone, both of them can still do the work, but I just find the down thread to be more easier, like much faster. So when you have in much gathers on one side of your fabric like this, you can come to this other side, this other end, and start dragging from the second end as well. It's not a must that you drag from only one end. So I'm going to drag from the second end of my. So I've gathered and I was carried away and now gathered more than I supposed to. This one now is smaller than my waistline, so I'm just going to like release it a little bit to reach my waistline. And then you can see some part is empty. I've not gathered this part because I was gathering from one end. So I'm just going to like make sure that the gathers is even. I'll just be shifting this one I gathered already and make sure that it's even, that everywhere there is gathers. And then I'll now make it my waist size. I will show you the next step what I will do. So I've measured the waistline and it's in my south waistline plus 2 inches for stitching. So I'm just going to tie the rope at the end so that the gathers will not lose it. I'll tie the thread on both ends. So now I'll just make the gathers to be even so that everywhere will be the same. I'll check the part that is fuller and shift it to the part that is less fuller. If in the process of drawing your thread and creating these gathers and your thread cut, you have to start afresh. I'm sorry, you have to start from the beginning again. There is no shortcut to this. So this is my gathers, you can see. So now the next thing I will do is to fold the hem of this skirt. So I'll go ahead and hem the skirt. After hemming, I'll bring it back for the next stitch. So I'm done hemming my skirt. Now I'll go ahead and shape it. I'm just going to fold it like this with the right side facing each other. I'll cut off the thread. So like this, I'm going to stitch it from the hem. So when I stitch it from the hem, I'm going to mark where my zip will start from. So my zip will be at least 7 inches long, or maybe 6 inches. Let me use 7 inches. So I'm going to mark 7 inches. That's where my zipper will start from. So I'm going to stitch from the hem and I'll stop at that marking I just did now. Then I'll fix my zipper. I believe we all know how to fix a zip. So I'll go ahead and fix the zip, and the next thing after fixing the zip will be to fix my band. So it's time to fix the band, and this is my band. I cut out my waist measurement plus about 3 inches for my button, because the waist is going to have a button, the band is going to have a button by the slip side, then plus stitching allowance. And then for the width, I want my band to be 2 inches wide, so I cut out 2.5 inches on fold, half inches will be for stitching. And then I've gone ahead to iron a paper stay on it. You can see the inside, there is paper stay. And then also folding the half inches allowance on both sides. So it's time to fix. To fix this band, I'm just going to turn to the zipper side of the skirt, and I'll open the zipper just like this, and then I'll open up the band. I'm going to place the band on the skirt with the right side facing each other like this, leaving about 1.5 inch here, the allowance I added on the waistband. And then I'm going to pin this down, following the line I used to make the gathers, minding the line and the half inch on the zipper allowance. I'm just going to pin it down. I'll pin it all around the waist so it doesn't shift while I'm stitching. So I'm done pinning it down. So I'll just take this to my sewing machine and stitch it following the line. Then I'll bring it back. So I've finished stitching around the band, first joining. Then I'll come to the end to have a clean finishing. I'm going to bend this band like this. So I'm going to stitch the end of this band so that when I turn it to cover up, you'll have a clean finishing at the end here. So I'll bend it like the right side facing each other, only the band. I'm going to run a stitch about half inch because the extra I want to leave here for my button is only 1 inch. I want to leave about 1 inch for my button. So what I have here is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to run a stitch half an inch so it will remain 1 inch. So I'll stitch down the hem of the band using half an inch on the both side. Then after stitching it, I'm going to flip it over and cover it up and top stitch on it to cover up the band. So I finished with the band, and I've also fixed my button right here, you can see. So let me wear this so you see what it looks like. If you have watched up to this point, thank you so much for watching. And if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe. And then make sure you like this video, comment, and share it to your friends. See you in the next video. Bye.